Okay, good morning, everybody. We're going to allow a few seconds to let the room populate. And with that said, my name is John Franzreb. I'm an analyst here at Sidoti & Company. Our next presentation this morning is Cyngn Inc., ticker CYN. For those not familiar with the company, Cyngn makes autonomous vehicle technologies that can be utilized in various industrial end markets. We are fortunate to have with us today CEO Lior Tal and CFO Don Alvarez. Following their presentation, we'll have time for Q&A. If you have questions, feel free to do so. You can put them right now in the Q&A section or chat or email me, and I will present them to management later on. With that said, gentlemen, thank you for being with us this morning, and the microphone is yours.
Thank you, John, and the Sidoti team for hosting us today. It's great to be here again. Before I start, I just want to refer everyone to our safe harbor statement. You can learn more about risk factors in our filings with the SEC. Cyngn is an autonomous driving technology company. Our focus is specifically on industrial applications, and that spans from everything that happens inside the warehouse, manufacturing, logistics, and all the way out to heavy industries like mining. The company has been operating since 2013 out of Menlo Park, California. We took the company public through an IPO NASDAQ in October 2021 and are now trading under the symbol CYN. A few of the things that I'd like to cover today, and we'll dive deeper into each of those, is the great market opportunity, the really interesting opportunity to take advantage of this innovative technology to solve real problems enterprises are facing today with the cost of labor shortage that add up to hundreds of billions of dollars today. Our technology was specifically designed, developed, and tested to solve the problems that industrial organizations are facing. It was developed and tested on the open roads, high speed, very complicated situations. It's been tested on about 15 different vehicle types so far. And now as we're moving from developing and testing it to start commercializing it, it has very broad applicability in terms of applications, sectors, and vehicle types. A few of the milestones we announced earlier this year are two contracts that we're very excited about. One is with US Continental, which is a leading manufacturer out of California. We'll be deploying our autonomous vehicles in Q1 of 2023. And a multi-phase contract with a very large global building material manufacturer that is looking to replace their forklift fleet with electric vehicles and automate them using our technology. The last thing that I'd like to bring up here is steps we've made in order to be prepared for scaling up as we start commercializing and pulling supply chain into the US. It's a contract we have with a Wisconsin-based contract manufacturer that has the ability to not only install our solutions on new vehicles that come off the line, but also retrofit existing fleets that customers already vested in and have been operating there, which is a very strong differentiator of us. Now, it really all starts with understanding how significant the industrial fleet is. Anywhere you look, whether it's in an airport, in a seaport, inside warehouses, in construction sites, in mining, even in the defense industry, vehicles are really the backbone of every major industry out there. They move weights, they drive faster than people can handle. But unfortunately, so far, in order for these vehicles to really do what they need to and deliver their impact, they needed drivers, they needed operators. Usually, you look at 2 shifts on average per vehicle, which means 2 people full-time to operate each of these vehicles, and this is really across all these industries and the different vehicle types. The challenge with that dependence on the human labor and the fact that you need all these operators out there starts with a huge cost. If you look at the US alone, the cost to drive these vehicles inside warehouses add up to about $140 billion, which is a very significant cost for these organizations. And that's in addition to the losses that arise from accidents that could have been prevented, accidents that come because of human error. This adds up to over $170 billion per year. But what is really amazing is the impact of labor shortage and the impact on lost opportunity for more revenue, more productivity, because these organizations just can't hire enough people and they can't retain the people they hire and invest in training. And if you look at the US economy, by 2030, this adds up to about $1 trillion of lost opportunity that could have been solved without the problems that are associated with human labor. Now, automation is really the perfect solution to these problems. Our vehicles are consistent. They show up to work. They do the work around the clock. You can operate them as long as they have power in them. They're never distracted. They don't play with their phones. They don't get emotional. They come in, day out, and they work as much as needed. And you can dial up or down the licenses for the automation based on surges or fluctuations in demand. So if it's a company that is more subject to demand spikes around holidays or special events, you don't need to give up the opportunity to provide more services to your customers because you can hire enough people. You can just dial up the solution, the automated solution to cope with that need, and then dial it down after that spike is over. Now, companies like Amazon, like Foxconn, like Siemens identified this opportunity and have been investing very heavily in robotics and automation for the past 10 years. And what it really creates is a very effective cost structure for them. So they can operate at higher margins because their costs go down. They're flexible. They are able to take on work as it comes in. And it creates a real problem for companies that are either competing with them, with one of these disrupting companies, and don't have access to the technologies and can build it in-house. Now, this is where Cyngn comes in. We are able to give these companies the same superpowers that an Amazon would keep for itself. We're able to do it almost regardless of what vehicle they're using, what application they have. And our ability to do that really stems from a breakthrough we had several years ago when we started developing our solution in identifying that there's a huge opportunity in harnessing the innovation, the talent, and the supply chain that have been developing for open road autonomy. Everything that's been done by the Fords and GM and Tesla in order for them to achieve the autopilot and self-driving ambitions they have can be taken advantage of when it's applied downward into the industrial world. And that translates into better driving, more future-proof systems, and much more effective solutions, which make us very unique in this space. The way we are taking our solution to market is in collaboration with the incumbents. We like working with the vehicle manufacturers. We like working with companies that have a relationship with these customers that are looking to now automate their vehicles and move to the next generation of technologies. And that really allows us to offer to the end customer the ability to choose the vehicle, choose the company they want to work with on the hardware, take advantage of their service network, take advantage of their supply chain network, and really come in and add our software to these vehicles and bring really the valuable component, the thing that's been missing from the industry, is the ability to convert these vehicles into autonomous solutions. We have an ecosystem of different companies we work with, both from the hardware perspective and some technologies. Some of the partners like the Columbia Vehicle Group that manufactures material handling vehicles, heavy or BYD, which we work with on forklifts of different sizes. They're great partners, and they really allow us to go to the customer with a very attractive proposition of choosing their vehicle and getting the best of breed software on top of it. And what really allows us to be able to offer that is our product suite that's called the Enterprise Autonomy Suite, EAS. It has a complete full set driving system. This is what's embedded on the vehicle, replaces the driver. It's been tested on 15 different vehicles so far, from shuttle buses and electric trucks to floor scrubbers and material handling vehicles, using the exact same software on all these vehicles. Cyngn Insight is really the interface that the customers engage with. This is where the customer can task the fleet, tell the vehicles what to do, observe what is happening, take advantage of very advanced analytics, and if needed, even take remote control over the vehicle and operate it remotely in order to do things that maybe the system was not originally designed to do until we can improve it and evolve to that state. And this is exactly what Cyngn Evolve is for. It's the ability to collect the data, very similar to how Tesla does, from all the vehicles out there in the field, identify opportunities for improvements, identify new skills we can teach these vehicles, and then simulate it overnight with very high volume of driving. Once we're comfortable that the software is ready to be deployed down into the fleet, with a press of a button, we can send it to any vehicle or the entire fleet down there. Now, Cyngn Insight was developed for unskilled labor. You could have been a shift manager or a forklift operator before. The system is very visual, it's intuitive, it's simple to operate, and it really allows the customers to take advantage of existing workforce and upskill them to the jobs of the futures with this robotic augmentation in their workflow. The way we monetize our system, our solution, is on a subscription license-based. The size of the cost of the system is really a function of the application. Some of these vehicles, like stock chasers, would have lower price but much higher volume. Heavy industry, higher availability, higher grade solutions on, for example, mining trucks would mean maybe lower volume fleet, but higher unit economic, higher license per vehicle. And really, it's a function of how much value that vehicle delivers with our solution to what was before a human-operated solution. Now, I talked a little bit about the broad applicability. We tested it, we developed it on a wide range of different use cases, including driving on the open roads, on SUVs, on highways. But where we really see an opportunity to start the journey of commercializing the technology is in material handling. Our current focus is domestic in North America. We're looking at the opportunity that is valued at over $100 billion that's represented in the current cost of labor to operate these vehicles. And this is just the first step. And I really like this quote from Jensen, from NVIDIA CEO, that everything that moves will eventually become autonomous. The question is not whether these vehicles are going to be automated. The question is when and what is the sequence that will see them really reach commercial readiness and scale deployments. And when you compare what we're doing, when you compare the industrial applications and the private facilities to the open road, it makes a lot of sense to start in the industrial world first, because everything is simpler. Everything is simple means you can complete it faster. There's a lower cost to get to commercial readiness, which means you can commercialize it faster. If you think about the factors that really impact the problem and the need to solve it, the speeds are lower. You, in most industrial environments, drive at up to 5 miles per hour, which is in contrast to maybe 60, 65 miles per hour on the highways. Much less chaos, much less unknown situations, much more structured environments, and more disciplined people around the vehicle. So as much as there is a very high opportunity moving into more complicated and eventually open road applications, it makes more sense to start with a simpler, very high value, a very high revenue opportunity industrial ones, and then evolve the go-to-market and the commercial plan beyond that once starting to take advantage of the simple ones. Now, our technology can already support very complicated driving situations, but what we've been doing during 2022 is piloting, deploying our software together with the Columbia stock chasers into warehouses, into both manufacturing, third-party logistic corporations, and started taking on projects with other vehicles and more complicated applications that would be sequenced later after we start expanding our footprint into the warehouse and into the stock chaser customer base. During the IPO, one of the things that we presented and shared with investors is our growth and expansion plan. The plan for 2022 was to start with a single application, work with Columbia on a stock chaser, deploy it beginning to end into one customer, which means sell, deploy, train, and hand over the solution for the customer to be able to completely operate the system independent of Cyngn, and have a handful of vehicles doing that to make sure that everything beginning to end in our ability to take our solution to market is ready for when we want to start scaling it up. And then 2023 is really doing more of the same, more customers, more sites, but still with the same type of vehicle. Because we were very successful in recruiting this year, and this is very skilled engineering and technical talent that builds these artificial intelligence self-driving solutions. So we're very fortunate to be able to hire both the technical staff and the corporate teams that allow us to operate effectively as a public company. We decided to accelerate the plan and try to pull some of the 23 and 24 objectives into 2022. And that resulted in, instead of the one deployment that we're planning to a handful of different deployments across warehouses in the US between manufacturing and logistics, and starting to develop a second vehicle type through a paid project with a company, very interesting company, and we'll talk about them, to start working on the second vehicle type on a forklift that works in tandem with the stock chaser. So together they can offer a much more interesting solution to organizations that have heterogeneous fleets inside their warehouses. A few of the milestones that we've announced, that if you see there are links here that if you click would lead to either the blog post, the video, or the PR that talked about this earlier this year. Probably the most exciting thing we announced this year is the development and launch of Drive Mode Kit, which is patent protected. We applied for a patent for that. What Drive Mode Kit allows us is to take either a new stock chaser off the line, or a vehicle that's already been operating at the customer site, and overnight convert it into an autonomous solution. This is a complete set of sensors, computing, and communication that you bolt on top of pretty much any stock chaser that's operating in warehouses today. And that really allows the customer to then subscribe to our software and take advantage of our automation solution. We're building this using a third-party manufacturer here in the US, and that third-party manufacturer can manufacture a large volume of these solutions, which gives us access to the scale we're expecting to only get later in the years. We launched a major upgrade to EAS. The EAS 8.0 really makes the usability of our solution simple, intuitive, and very flexible. This was really focused as a result of the pilots we've done this year to make it very simple for a company that's been operating human driver-centric fleets to really move to an automation without needing extensive training or hiring any specialized people. The training happens within the span of a week, and then we can hand over the system. It has everything the customer needs to operate the solution, but also take advantage of very interesting analytics and other features out there. And of course, working with the Columbia Vehicle Group, a great partner and a manufacturer of these stock chasers, that has a very broad reach into the customer base here in the US that includes not just the sales, but also the service and the supply network to continuously support these vehicles after they're in the hands of the customer. On the commercial side, I'm very excited to share that we signed a contract with US Continental. They're a California-based leading manufacturer. They will be deploying our autonomous stock chasers in their operation starting in Q1. And this is a result of successful pilots we ran with other companies during 2022. The contract with a multi-billion-dollar building material manufacturer. There's dozens of sites worldwide and is looking to electrify their forklift fleet and automate it. Because of the specific nature of their operation, they're carrying heavier loads and have very specific environments. They needed someone who can really build a solution for them and have the flexibility to adapt to their existing environment. And after a long RFP process, we won that contract and we're working on it now. This will be executed as well during Q1 of 2023. And like I mentioned, the ability to scale up the production, integration of support of the stock chasers using Drive Mode Kit out of Wisconsin with our contract manufacturing partner. One of the things that are becoming obvious with each of these deployments is the immediate impact that autonomy is making on these organizations. This is a white paper that we published after a deployment that we did with Global Logistics and Fulfillment. They're a third-party logistic operator out of Nevada and California. And they saw an immediate impact on the cost of labor, 64% reduction in the cost of labor, and 33% increase in efficiency when they deploy just a handful of our vehicles. And that really becomes very significant when the fleets are bigger and the operation is more significant. And it's measurable, and it's really easy to understand the impact from the customer side once you start using the solution. A few competitive advantages that come from things that I mentioned before. Because we developed our system like a robotaxi, because we take advantage of the newest computing, communication, AI, and AI developments and talent, our system is very flexible. It can be trained to do a very broad array of different things. It's future-proof much more than the traditional robotic solutions that have been used for automation. And it allows us to deploy our solution on a very wide array of vehicles, applications, and verticals. Once a customer starts deploying our solutions, it's very easy for us to then integrate and support another vehicle types that are operating at that facility. So take, for example, a customer that uses stock chasers to move material from one side of the facility to the other, and then forklifts to load material on that stock chasers, and maybe floor scrubbers to clean around those vehicles. We can use the same software across all these different applications in that heterogeneous fleet, whereas otherwise the customer would need to work with different vendors, different integration, and just over time really complicate using that technology. And of course, the fact that we can work with any vehicle manufacturers allows the customer to choose the best vehicle that they want, the best, and get the best software on top of it. So wrapping it up, before we open it up for questions, we have a great team. Our team has been building and scaling technology companies for many years now. We work with great partners in order to take our solution to market faster and offer much more robust and much more scalable solution to these customers. Our technology is differentiated. It's a next generation compared to the traditional industrial automation solutions are out there. And it's a very, very big market opportunity, even with the material handling alone, but of course, much more when you start stacking additional verticals like heavy industry and others on top of it. But again, our focus is to take this first application across the line, commercialize it, scale it, and then look at other opportunities. This is it for today, John. I'm happy to answer any questions out there.
Thank you very much, Lior. Anybody wants to ask a question, feel free to do so in the Q&A section, chat, or email me. Lior, I'm kind of interested in the drive mode kit that you developed and its ease of installation. Can you talk a little bit about the ability to have to send somebody to do the conversion? Can you give us a little bit of background on that kit in and of itself?
Of course, yes. For us, the hardware is an enabling component. The software is really the brain. The software is really the thing that does the work. The hardware is something that we ask, what does the system need in order to see the world, to make decisions, and to control the vehicle? We have a very strong in-house hardware vehicle robotics team that can take any vehicle that you put in front of them, analyze it, and create the reference design on what it takes to convert that vehicle into an autonomous solution. We then take that blueprint and we can hand it over either to the vehicle manufacturer or to a third party like we did with the drive mode kit. The drive mode kit really takes the computer that is needed for that vehicle, the sensors, places them around the vehicle in a way that allows us to see 360 degrees around the vehicle, and the communication that's needed for that vehicle to communicate with the rest of the fleet and with our cloud services. And the installation of that on a vehicle, it really is what makes it very simple to be able to support existing vehicle fleets, because it is self-sufficient. It's completely contained. Everything that our system needs sits inside this one very elegant white box. And that means that the person that needs to integrate it, or the person that needs to later service it, doesn't really need to understand what we're doing on the software side or the more complicated parts of it. There's very simple guides on how to replace things, how to integrate it, and you can do it very fast. And I think it really differentiates us. It really allows us to do something that otherwise would require the customer to replace the vehicles, replace the hardware, throw something that might have been $1 million in investment and go buy a complete new vehicle fleet from a new vendor, which is a very high bar to make that decision.
Interesting. And so would you think your initial successes would be more targeted towards retrofitting or OEM applications?
That's a good question. We work together with the Columbia Vehicle Group on a sort of two-pronged approach. We're looking at the customers that are already invested in large fleets that would make perfect sense for them to convert them and upgrade them into autonomous systems, and also looking at customers that are indicating interest in automation and demand for autonomous systems, which we can integrate off the line and send directly to the Columbia network to these customers. So at the moment, we think that the opportunity is in both, but the real differentiator is the fact that we can really retrofit these vehicles. This is something that, as far as we know, really doesn't exist out there. It's a very unique proposition.
You highlighted in your presentation a number of milestones. One of the questions from the audience is, when do you anticipate, generating revenue, and what is your current burn rate?
So we are starting to generate revenue these days. It's going to start with a trickle. and some of it is going to be project-based. It's going to be NRE for development, for example, of the forklifts that is being funded or financed by that company we work with, and then gradually start taking on license and recurring revenue-based deals like the US Continental. Like I said, the plan was to start generating meaningful revenues in 2024, but we're doing everything we can to try to pull that forward and accelerate that as much as we can. In terms of burn rate, we're operating at the moment between $1.5 million and $1.8 million per month. We grew the company pretty significantly since the IPO and post-COVID in order to be able to meet these opportunities and be able to accelerate the plan, but we don't expect significant growth of the employee base in 23, and the growth is going to be mostly a function of commercial success and deployment, not really the core engineering team. It's more the team that you grow for customer success for operations that's justified by revenues coming in.
Another question from the audience is that in your last earnings report, you mentioned that R&D would increase as you look to expand your engineering effort. How can you attract talented engineers to join your company, I guess, given the current labor environment?
That's a great question. And one of the things that we're seeing consistently over the past several years is that people that are passionate about robotics and self-driving, people, that went to Carnegie Mellon or Berkeley, that worked at Amazon or, Ford's unit Argo, are getting frustrated because the horizon keeps getting pushed. They do all that work and they want to see their products make an impact. They want to see their products in the hands of customer, and it just doesn't get there. And one of the things that makes us very attractive for them is you develop your software tonight, and tomorrow it can be deployed into the hands of these customers. You can see that vehicle making an impact. You can really see the value that what you're building is making on the world. So what we're getting is talent that really wants to see the impact of the work they're doing. Of course, everything that's been happening recently with the layoffs in the large tech companies that maybe grew a little too fast during the last couple of years makes it a little easier. But again, we're a relatively small team. We're very selective about the people we bring in. And we really like to find the people that are really passionate about what we're building and believe that this is going to change the world.
Got it. And I guess lastly, we're starting to run out of time here, but as far as the year ahead, what kind of milestones should investors be looking at that you can achieve in the near term that will show progress as far as you reaching your longer term targets?
Absolutely, our focus moving forward is commercialization. We need to see these vehicles at the hands of customers. We need to see them do the work that we're designed to do, and we need to see these revenues coming in. We started building our sales team. We just hired the head of our sales. We're going to announce it once that person joins and really start moving from business developments into repetitive sales. So the milestones to keep an eye for are announcements about deployments, about agreements, customer contracts, and of course, revenues starting to come in.
Okay. Well, gentlemen, we're just about out of time. I appreciate you presenting today at Sidoti Companies Conference, and look forward to meeting with you again. Good luck and best of wishes on a go-forward basis.
Thank you, John. Thank you, everyone.
Bye now.